Diane Keaton's family has spoken following her death. In a statement to People magazine, the Oscar-winning actress's relatives confirmed she died of pneumonia on October 11 and thanked everyone for their support. The Keaton family are very grateful for the extraordinary messages of love and support they have received these past few days on behalf of their beloved Diane, who passed away from pneumonia on October 11th, the statement says. Her family also highlighted causes she cared about. She loved her animals and she was steadfast in her support of the unhoused community, so any donations in her memory to a local food bank or an animal shelter would be a wonderful and much appreciated tribute to her. People first reported on Saturday that the Oscar-winning actress had died in California at the age of 79. There are no further details available at this time, and her family has asked for privacy in this moment of great sadness, a spokesperson said then. A source told People October 11 that Keaton's health declined very suddenly, which was heartbreaking for everyone who loved her. Her death was so unexpected, the source added, especially for someone with such strength and spirit. In her final months, she was surrounded only by her closest family, who chose to keep things very private. Even longtime friends weren't fully aware of what was happening, the source said. Diane Keaton vowed not to vanish. Born Diane Hall in 1946 in Santa Ana and raised in Los Angeles, she took her mother's maiden name Keaton as a deliberate claim, be remembered. That choice wasn't vanity, it was a compact with herself against the small erasures she'd seen at home. Her mother, Dorothy, had briefly tasted local applause, singing and dancing, then returned to a conventional life. Watching that retreat taught Diane a lesson. Talent can be sidelined by expectation. That memory lodged as a private rule: perform, but keep the self that performs intact. In school, she discovered movement and theater, driven less by spotlight hunger than by a need for a place that fit her odd edges. She studied at Orange Coast College, then moved to Manhattan to pursue stage work, a young woman choosing distance and discipline over comfort. Manhattan hardened her resolve. The city offered risk and anonymity in the same breath. She responded by making firm boundaries. On stage in hair, when nudity was expected, she refused to strip. It was a small act of defiance that read like courage. She would commit to art without erasing herself. Early roles taught pragmatic lessons. At 19, she was told to lose nearly 10 pounds for a part. That directive marked the start of years spent fighting bulimia and drinking as escape, private costs beneath public striving. Those years shaped how she would guard herself later. Her move into film was abrupt. From Lovers and Other Strangers, she arrived at a turning point when Francis Ford Coppola cast her as Kay Adams in The Godfather. She had only a handful of scenes, but they mattered.
It was an abortion, Michael. It was a son, and I had it killed because this.
The moral counterweight to a story of power and violence. The Godfather made her visible in a way theater had not. Her restraint and averted glance, a closed door, gave the film a human center. It was proof that small gestures could carry epic weight, and it repositioned her career overnight. That role taught her and audiences a critical lesson: power need not be loud to land. Her economy of expression invited viewers to lean in, to read silences and pauses as narrative thrusts, an approach she would refine and inhabit in future roles. Backstage and off-camera, the new visibility brought both opportunity and expectation. Suddenly, style and mannerisms people had barely noticed were scanned for meaning. Keaton responded by sharpening the private promises that had started in childhood: refuse erasure, choose authorship. By act's end, she had a posture: perform fiercely, protect the self. The stage refusal, the weight loss demand, the Godfather entrance, these moments stitched into a rule set she would test again and again. Visibility opened doors, but it also brought pressures she had not invited. Annie Hall began as collaboration and became a cultural reset. Woody Allen wrote with her in mind.
Hi.
She brought mannerisms, wardrobe, and an offbeat sensibility that blurred character and self. That film transformed private tics, shuffling gait, off-kilter timing, into widely imitated behavior. Her wardrobe choices on screen were not costume gimmicks, but personal shorthand: oversized shirts, slouchy trousers, a fedora, and ties that read as punctuation. Those items signaled a woman composing herself deliberately, and the public began to borrow the look, translating eccentricity into mainstream taste. The film's success brought awards and a new kind of scrutiny. Winning Best Actress amplified interest in everything she did: interviews, dating history, public friendships.
I didn't know how, and I was also afraid of men.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was afraid of men, yes.
fame pressed against the compact she'd made with herself: be visible, but not consumed. Her creative shorthand with Alan deepened. On set, they improvised, trusting intuition over rigid scripting. This looseness produced luminous moments, but also blurred boundaries between role and relationship. The professional shorthand mutated into a private closeness that complicated both art and life. Private struggles intensified under the glare. Years of bulimia and heavy drinking were not neat subplot. They were lived realities that shaped mood, appetite for risk, and emotional availability. These battles informed performances, characters who navigated vulnerability and control, but they also demanded repair away from the stage. Romantic entanglements were public and intense. Relationships with Warren Beatty and Al Pacino were reported and dissected, adding gossip to the personal ledger. Still, she declined marriage. Independence was a conscious stance, not an absence of love. That decision reframed how audiences read her choices. Their partnership with Alan produced 8 films and a shorthand critics dissected. He later said he made films for an audience of one, her. And that line reads as both tribute and warning. Creative intimacy can become emotional dependency if left untended. When allegations from Alan's past re-emerged amid cultural shifts, Keaton faced a public reckoning. She described Alan as a friend and pointed to prior interviews and reports that shaped her view. It's vital to present such moments as contested. Investigations, differing narratives, and public debate coexist around that history. The resurfacing of accusations marked a cultural and personal collision. Loyalty, ethics, and public opinion slammed together. Keaton's decision to defend a longtime collaborator forced a reckoning about where allegiance and accountability should meet. The moment was less a single verdict than an ongoing fracture in public conversation. The fallout required choices. She could distance herself and preserve reputation, or speak and risk criticism. She often chose nuance, defending friendship while acknowledging complexity, accepting the reputational cost as part of a moral calculus. That stance altered how some audiences saw her, but it also clarified a pattern. Fidelity to people mattered enough to shape public consequence. The consequences forced a new set of personal and artistic decisions, reshaping the arc of her life and work. Adoption at 50 reshaped her personal narrative. Choosing parenthood later was deliberate. She built a family without following Hollywood's script, showing that timing can be authored rather than assigned. That decision reframed expectations about motherhood and career. Becoming a single mother meant practical reinvention. Schedules, homes, and emotional labor reorganized around children. It also deepened her priorities. Roles and travel were weighed against caregiving in ways that altered job choices and public availability. Her late career roles tracked a different ambition: exploration over reinvention. She gravitated to parts that traded youthful glamour for layered interiority, characters who carried history, regrets, and surprising resilience. Those performances expanded what actresses of her age could be offered. Fashion remained a tool of agency. The fedora, loose shirts, and ties were consistent signposts, choices that communicated temperament before a line was spoken. Style functioned as shorthand for autonomy. She curated how she would be read, refusing a wardrobe imposed by industry trends. She kept working as a director and performer, moving behind and in front of the camera with curiosity. Projects like directing Unstrung Heroes and starring in late romances demonstrated an artist willing to take modest risks rather than chase headlines, deepening a varied filmography. Admissions about past struggles, eating disorder, drinking, were made on her terms, candid but measured. Speaking openly allowed those realities to inform roles without becoming sensationalized. Her candor offered viewers a portrait of repair rather than a cautionary headline. Loyalty to collaborators continued to mark her choices. She maintained friendships when others withdrew, and that continuity shaped creative possibilities and also public perception. Fidelity was a practiced ethic that sometimes had social cost, but clarified her values. Her influence persisted in technique. Actors and directors learned to listen for pauses, to let wardrobe carry subtext, to let small gestures accumulate meaning. That stylistic influence became part of film language, less obvious than awards, more durable in scenes. The cumulative effect of her small refusals became her legacy. Rather than a single dramatic reinvention, her life read as a series of deliberate nays that aggregated into a distinct yes to autonomy, to careful intimacy, to a self she would not surrender. In final measure, she modeled a form of longevity that values constancy with curiosity. Keaton's career suggests an alternative: build slowly, defend what matters, and let accumulated choices form the architecture of a life and body of work. That architecture continues to invite close attention and quiet imitation. Diane Keaton's life shows that a series of small, deliberate refusals can become a powerful life work. Authorship over approval, nuance over spectacle, fidelity over easy headlines. Her pauses, wardrobes, and choices teach that independence is practiced, not declared, and that longevity comes from curiosity paired with constancy. If this story made you see her differently, leave a comment below with your take. Hit like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more deep dives into the people who changed how we watch.